Welcome, one and all, to Cult of Color, Week 5, Part 2. Hello, everybody. My name is Joe/Nomad. I'll be your colors for the evening. And this evening, we're taking another deep dive into secondary corrections with DaVinci Resolve. This is going to be a little bit more focused on traditional footage instead of drone footage. So we're going to be dealing with people. And people can be a very touchy subject. It looks like I've got, let me count them, one viewer, Rain Squad. What's up, bud? I'm sure more will roll in. Good to see you. Thanks for making it. I really appreciate it. Let's see here. I don't think I've got any other business. Maybe I might want to show you guys a couple of grades I did since last week, if you haven't seen them already. Let me just pause the music here. And let's go here. This one. And let's go to my channel. Of course, it's going to start doing. Okay, good. So let's see. We did a couple of things here. Where are my uploads, man? Pay attention to my own stuff. So we did this one. See if you get a kick out of this. And it does not want to play at all. It's not detecting it as HDR, that's odd. Well. So this is Badlands, South Dakota from our 2023 summer adventure trip. Just redid this one this week. Had a lot of fun with it. Trying to squeeze as much detail out of that camera as possible. It's a Hero 11 on this one. Go away. Wait, you know what? No wonder. Okay, so this is not... I recently redid this one. This is not the redo. I just realized. Holy hammer dasher. Let's try that again, shall we? Okay. So we'll start here. Oh, I'm such a dork. This is middle of nowhere, Bureau of Land Management, government land in Wyoming. This was the first redo I did this week, I believe. I was just so wondering why the other one wasn't in HDR. It's the first time I did that one, I didn't do an HDR grade. Such a goofball. Hey, Kimmy, how you doing? Glad you could make it. Okay. Well, then I don't know who's chatting right now, so I guess I'll just ignore that. You may continue to hide. Thanks, Donnie. Appreciate you dropping in, man. Oh my god, Rain Squad. Are you attending a superb owl party? No worries, Kimmy. Well, you can come back a little later if you want. I only got 2 more videos to check out, and then we'll be on to color grading. Rain Squad, you attending a superb owl party this fine day, sir? Let me dirty YouTube. Knock it off. This is the appropriate version of this. Yeah, Rain Squad, I'm with you there. I don't really sports balls, so I didn't even know the Super Bowl was today until somebody came in and told me. It was Bob. Oh well, it's fine. Girl.
Beautiful. Great play.
Yeah, I feel you there, Rain Squad.
Yes, I hit record.
Too much fun. So one more video for you. I think I just went a couple days ago. Basically, I'm trying to find some, because the weather's been shit. I haven't really been able to get out and fly and generate any kind of new content. So I'm taking old content, either something I haven't posted yet, or like an expanded version of something of a, this next one has appeared in several different videos, as a clip, but this is the entire pack of the long range flight. Forgot what else I was going to say. I don't know, man. I don't know. So, last video, here we go. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I've been trying new types of music, as opposed to just the typical either electronic or epic cinematic music. I've been trying different genres to try to add a little bit of extra flavor to some of my videos. I've been liking it, I've been enjoying it. What have you been up for so long for, Kimmy? Silly lady. Too much energy drinks, clean while everyone slept. Yeah, I get that. You should go get some rest. Retrospect, I should have gone over the table. Would have been way cooler. Look at my pasty white legs. I love it. So that is what I've been up to this week. I did another grade. It's posted in the Critique My Grade channel on the Discord. The intent there is to encourage people to take a you know, an opportunity to critique some of my work in an appropriate venue. So I know what's wrong with it. If you can spot what's wrong with it, then that will be illustrative of your education and advancement in the realm of color grading. Thanks, Flyzone. Appreciate that. Found out Monster had a hard cider drink. 15 of them in the park. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So today we're going to get into some more secondary color corrections, and we're focusing more on people. I already have the UI and Resolve cranked up for you guys, so you can see it. We'll see how well that works. Some of these grades get pretty complex, and there's a lot of nodes. But we're going to go through it one at a time. So let's take a quick look at what we have on the timeline already. Jesus Christ, I can't see anything. Okay, we'll do it over here then. So there's no audio. Just going to show you guys what we got here. This is an interview wife and I did on Route 66. If any of you have done the Route 66 trip, you probably know Harley just on the inside of Oklahoma, on the western side, I believe. And then we got just a clip of the wife, slow-mo, a little bit out of focus. Picked it deliberately for that reason. Try to get that cleaned up. Here's some corporate work I did. Again, another interview format. In this case, I had two people in mixed lighting. So we have like LED overhead lights, plus there's outside light coming in. There's sharp lights, some soft lights. So it's a little bit of a challenging lighting condition to make it look good while being both flattering and appropriate for a woman and for a man. So, because men and women should be graded slightly differently in ways that are more flattering to their complexions. And we'll scooch up over here. Here is covering an event. This is the mayor of Benton Harbor here in Michigan. And he was in an event, so I wanted to illustrate this as well. It's another challenging lighting condition. And then from the last wedding I shot, another slow-mo. Two faces at two different depths in this relatively shot in terms of there's rack focus. One of the faces goes half off the canvas there, and the other one's fully off the canvas in two different parts of the shot. So a little bit difficult. We'll do some before and after comparisons as well. So yeah, we shall get started. So when I'm dealing with people, all right, friggin', I want to start over here. Half the UI is not here because it's all huge. So we can tell that this is a little bit on the noisy side. You see the noise in the red there and in the shadows. Probably first thing I would do is just throw some denoise on that first node. So I'm going to use temporal noise reduction, set it to better, leave that at medium, and we're just going to tip that up to about 1.4. Not a whole lot. Doesn't have to be a bunch because noise, so more noise than usual. Good enough. Okay. So now I want to take Harley and separate him from his background. He's got a lot of really neat and interesting colors around here that I want to play with, but I don't want to screw up his skin tones, such as they are. So we're going to separate Harley real quick. So I'll bust out another serial node. And I'm going to use a magic mask for this one. It's just easier. I could use a power window and track it that way. Again, this is why I always encourage folks to who want to get serious about this to buy the studio version of Resolve, and hopefully that'll make my tutorials a little bit more applicable, right? Because I rely heavily on some of these neural network features of Resolve. So, okay, I'll turn on my onion skin, and I will probably set that to better. Set the refine range to none, or to 1. Now I'm just gonna draw him. So I'm just gonna take what's above the table. I'm not gonna worry about his legs. Not showing any skin there. I know, it's lovely, right? Needs a little bit of fixing. So I will deselect the book by holding Alt and drawing on it, and just for giggles, I will deselect the table, make sure I don't get any part of the table. Everything under there I don't want. Everything up and around his silly face I don't want. Really cool dude. Bit eclectic. Probably not sure what year he's in. That's fine though. There we go. And we'll just track that. I should turn my background music back on, huh? Should. Oh. Hopefully that's coming through better than it sounds on my headphones because of the stress I'm putting on my computer. Let me know if the music's clear, for it's all fucked. Fucked, I'll just turn it off. For that matter, how's my mic? Is that fucked as well, or? I have a feeling it's just for my headphones. My audio interface does not like the real-time clock being overtaken. Ooh, that sounds gnarly here. Almost there. The reason why this is so slow is because we do have that denoise on there. If I took that off, it'd probably be a lot faster. Looks like I might have started tracking in the middle of it. Awesome. Okay. Turn my onion skin off. I'm going to take another node. So this is going to be my background node. This will be my foreground node. And we will connect it with a layer mixer. So I put Harley on the top layer. And I put the background on the bottom layer. Now I can go ahead and on the background, we're going to do pre-slider. Just like we do for drone footage, it works just fine for backgrounds. I wouldn't try it on people because it can really screw that up. Here, post filter. Just make sure that's nice and clean. And we will just brighten him up just a little bit. We just want to, just enough to separate him from the background. Okay. So we've done one stage of our secondaries. Moving on to stage 2. We're going to do face tracking. So I'm going to create a parallel node here. So these two, it doesn't matter which one's on top. They're just mixed equally. So on, oh wait, I didn't actually need to do that. My bad. We only have one face, so we only need one node. So I will, and just for tits and pickles, I'm going to turn that off so it's a little bit faster. Okay, real quick. So that's kind of the thing with these, when you start getting into these complex secondary corrections, it really doesn't matter what kind of computer you have, it's not going to play back in real time once you get to a certain point. You're adding things like denoising and depth maps and surface maps and all kinds of craziness. So it's not always going to be nice and smooth. So, okay, now I got that scored away. We'll just pretend I turned the noise on. Here we're going to do face tracking. So face refinement. Analyze. So now we're going to track his facial features. Again, such as they are. At least they're in the right places. And then we'll do some really, really subtle corrections. Kind of make things a bit... make them pop a little bit more. Well, that didn't work out well. We'll just pretend that last part didn't happen. And let's punch in. Let's find a place where he's got his eyes open. Okay, just like that. So we're not going to mess with the beauty scale. What we're going to do is go to advance. We're going to add a touch of texture, just ever so slightly. So contrary to, like with women, you want less less texture with women. Not a tremendous amount less, because you still want fine details of the skin. Men tend to, I guess, look more aesthetically pleasing if they have more texture in their skin and not overly smooth. I guess like the ruggedness or the you know, wrinkled skin or whatever is masculine energy or trait or whatever. I don't know. Whenever I grade myself, I always add a little bit of texture, even though my skin is not the best in the world. So we add a tiny little bit of texture there. Add some contrast. Works. Okay, we're gonna have to yeah, we're gonna have to mess with the skin mask a little bit. Show the skin mask. Need to add some softness here. Reason being is because he's got this big bushy beard. We don't want a hard line where the sharpness just turns into blurriness all of a sudden. It would be too obvious. So scrolling back down, I'm gonna go ahead and bump up the shine removal, trying to take that shine off his forehead a little bit. And here's kind of where the real magic happens. I'm going to sharpen his eyes up. I'm just going to add just a little bit of brightness to the whites of his eyes. I don't want him to look like a gold from Stargate, so just a little bit of brightness. It should almost be imperceptible when it's not moving. And then we're going to add some highlight, which is more of a brightening of the general eye area. Again, got to be very like chill with that. Same thing with eye bag removal. Just want to touch. A little dab will do ya. This isn't one of those cases where, you know, the bigger the gob, the better the job. Just tiny bits of adjustment there. I'm also going to go back to the background over here, and I'm going to pull the saturation down. We're going to do more of those colors. The reason why I want to pull the saturation down here, remember we add contrast, and contrast inherently increases saturation. Well, if we look, we've got some peaked colors over my head. I don't know if you can see the red there. Red is pretty peaked out, so I'll pull that saturation down. Be able to recover those colors. We'll add some more color in a little bit, a little splash. So we got the facial part done. We've separated him from the background. So now we can do more of a two-tone type thing here. So I'll pull this off to the side, make another node, and I'm going to add a parallel node. So this time highlights and shadows. Hey Marcel, good to see you, bud. Thanks for stopping in, man. So let me start labeling this here. This is denoise. Background. Talent. And this is face. And this will be highlights and shadows. So when it comes to the highlights and shadows, I'm going to do the same sort of split tone that I almost always do, which is right kind of a orange and teal, maybe like a cyan and darker orange, depending upon the look that I'm going for. And I usually kind of figure that out when I put the shadow. I work the shadow, but in this case, like shadows, I want to apply everywhere. Highlights, I don't want the highlight tint to touch his skin tone. We don't want to screw with it. Could spend a lot more time fixing it after the fact, but we want this to be non-destructive so we can go and play with it. So really, we only want to affect the background when it comes to the highlights. So shadow, grab my qualifier, turn on the mask viewer. And I'll pull that down right about there, and I'll soften up that top edge. And I'm going to take the lift, push it. I'm going to go 6 and 3. 6 to the right, 3 negative red. Turn that off. How does that look? So now we've set that. We can use this slider here, the qualifier, to determine how much of the scene we want toned. And the blue doesn't really hurt his skin tone at all, unless I take it all the way out here. Then we're just changing the white balance of that part. We just want to touch just enough to shift the background cool. I'll go to the highlights, turn on my mask viewer. This time I'm going to grab just the highlights. Wait, looks like Harley's in there, right? So we need to take the mask from here, pull it over here, which then just gives us straight Harley. So go to the mask, the key tab over here, and we're going to invert the input. So now it gives us everything but Harley. Okay, so now I can go back to my qualifier. I can pick the highlights I want without having to worry about his skin tones. And there. There, sounds good. So gamma, I'm gonna go -6 on the blue and +3 on the red. Might give us more yellow, but let's see how it looks. That looks pretty good. Okay, we're almost done. We're not quite there yet. We're gonna take the output of this, and this is where we do the aftertouch. So for that, using the glow effect as a contrast tool, go to effects, find glow, drop it in there. To matte, so I'm going to add the original source footage as a matte. Settings in here. So soft light, saturation all the way down, and then shine threshold. And we control this with the opacity slider. So just to add a little bit of contrast in there. It's very soft contrast. Sometimes I'll like wiggle it back and forth a little bit just to see how much I'm taking away, how much I'm giving. Because if I crank it, you see it's mostly going to go dark. Top down. That'll do. And the finishing touch, at least for me, is I always do a vignette. A gamma vignette for SDR footage. So I'll pull this circle power window out until the default gradient touches the edge, the inside gradient. And once I have that, I pull the gradient out until it touches the corners. And then I want to invert. And just so I can show you what this does, make it go away, I'm going to pull my gamma down until it sort of feels like it's giving the footage a hug, right? We don't want it to be darker, we just want it to be cozy. So it's almost imperceptible, almost like the footage is getting a little hug there. Almost playing real time, almost. So now if we look at these two together, you can see the difference. Also, I've already stabilized the footage on the right, so that also is a thing that happened. But you can see the difference in color. There's a lot more separation between the talent and the background without having to necessarily relight it. And we'll pretend that I added the denoise on there just for tits and pickles. And that's Harley, so we can move on to the next one. Maybe I can... There it is. Hello, wifey. Okay, so early morning light. It's like a couple hours after sunrise, I think it was. We were in Nebraska, I think. Maybe. I can't remember which spot this was. We're at somewhere in the Midwest. So the same thing would apply here. I would do a denoise. There's obviously a decent amount of noise in the shot. I'm probably going to want to do that here. I don't think I'm going to do any major tracking. Let's see if we can get away with faster. Not a whole lot of motion in this. So it's stabilized weird. Okay, maybe it's over here. Perspective. Looks like a painting. Yep. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Similarity. Bit better. So first thing, we did some denoise. Now I want to separate my subject from the background. This is almost universal when you're dealing with people, especially when they have a blurry background. You don't want their colors to wash into the background. But if we look real close here, I've got some fringing caused by the lens because it was such a long shot, and I think, if I recall correctly, this is not a high quality lens I was using, which is part of the reason why it's so soft. You can see it's shifting blue on this side. On the other side, it's like shifting purple a little bit. I'm not going to deal with it here, but it would become an issue if we really wanted to make sure she was cut away from the background. This blue over here would be a little weird, and this purple would probably look a little weird. In this case, it's probably not that big of a deal, but that's just something to be aware of. So I got my background. And adding a layer node, so this time a layer, so we're going to do the tracking on the top layer, which is, if you recall, the bottommost node on the layer node, as if a little guy down here was looking up at all the nodes. They would see this one first. So it's a little bit counterintuitive, I guess. So let's see, let's go ahead and track her. This should be fairly easy. We're just going to do better. Refine range, and we're just gonna bloop, 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 bloop. It's definitely helpful if you make the noises, so keep that in mind. Let's turn on the onion peel. Okay, that's pretty good. We're just gonna make sure that Resolve knows we don't want any of the water background. I've got the refinement enough that it should grab all of her little individual hairs at the top there. Okay, and we'll track. La la. Okay. So her pulled away now. We do whatever we want to the background. We're going to be pretty aggressive with the background because it's just kind of bright. I know there's a lot of extra color in there. So we'll do that 3 slider correction that I usually do. And we're going to be real aggressive with it. Okay, we're going to bring that down like that. And then on this, I'm going to want to denoise just ever so slightly. Not maybe black. I want to see the fringing is what's causing the problem. Now the fringing is really obvious. Okay, pretend I fixed the fringing. Fun times. Let's take a quick look, make sure. That's too weird. It's a little weird up here. But nothing we can't handle. So now that we've got her separated, we're going to increase the contrast on her. We've got so much, well, we're going to really just kind of like pull the gamma down. Got so much light right there. We want to pull that down to regain some of those dark colors. And push the gain up. The lift down. Again, trying to recover the darker color there so it's not so washed out. But we have kind of mushed up her face a little bit with the saturation, so we're going to pull the saturation back. Bring the saturation back up after we do the face refinement. Now I've got that part squared away. Do a face refinement on her. Okay, so we're gonna track her first. Shouldn't be too hard for the pewter to do. YouTube is bitching that I'm not using enough bandwidth. It's fine. There's not a lot of stuff changing. YouTube. Fucking chill. Okay, so this time we're going to use that beauty automatic. We're just going to scooch it up until we see a difference. By the time we notice it, it's almost too much. Okay, not a whole lot. Add a little bit of contrast just to get more features in there. Too much though. And take the shine down off the side of her face a touch. We'll do the same thing to the eyes that we did with Harley. We're going to sharpen them up. We're going to brighten them just a tiny bit. Little bit of an highlight. Just, it has to be so subtle because you don't want it to look like white face or some shit like that. So just tiny bit. And she doesn't have any eye bags, so we'll just leave that alone. We can do other things, lip, blush, forehead, cheek, chin. Not a whole lot to do here. So we'll just leave it at that. Usually I like to bring the eyes out because it definitely causes the viewer to focus on what's happening here. Oh, yes. Okay, so we did the face refinement. Use that. Here, what's going on here? Okay. It's so cramped. Let me just start there. Okay. A new node, and we're going to add parallel node. Want to do that? Yeah, we'll do parallel. Which shot that we're on. So, highlights and shadows again. Let me label these. I'm terrible at this. It's not white balance. Anyways, I've already white balanced all of these shots, so that's why there's not a white balance node. Otherwise, there would be a white balance node. And because these are Blackmagic RAW, we don't do white balance the way you don't do white balance with raw footage the way you do with like GoPro footage, where we would do it in a node. We do it over here in camera raw, right? We can set the ISO after the fact, set the exposure and the color temp. So that's where we do this. PG. Talent. Must be highlights. Shadows. So, as usual, I do my shadows first. Grab my qualifier, turn on my mask view, and then I scooch it down until I start grabbing the shadows. Soft. But just barely want to be able to see your eyes. There we go. And we'll do the 6 and 3, so blue plus 6, 3 minus, or red minus 3. Okay. Yep, that looks pretty good. Check the highlights. Remember, we're going to do the same thing here. We've tracked our talent, so we're going to make sure that we don't screw with our skin tones. So I'm adding the mask over here. I have to invert the input. The input, I need to invert that. There we go. And I go back to my qualifier and grab my highlights. Lower edge. Go. And in gamma, we're going to go blue minus 6, red plus 3. The exact opposite of what we do in lift. So the colors complement each other. There we go. So we added a little bit more saturation in here just by the fact that we had the complementary colors. There's also a perceptive saturating that happens here that we didn't need to actually put in technically. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this, but it's psychoperception. Basically, it's what you're tricking your brain into thinking there's more color there than there actually is. So you don't actually have to put it in there. So yeah, that's essentially it. I mean, probably do the same thing here. Another node. Do glow. And I'm gonna put that. Let me take the saturation down. Composite type light. With the opacity, and we can get a little bit more saturation in the shirt, and a little bit more separation from the background. Tiny bit. Last node. Favorite. Vignette. Everybody loves a good vignette. For me, it's a matter of taste. I don't do it on every single shot, but when the subject is dead center in the frame, you almost want to, because the frame is square, your subject is curved, right? You don't necessarily want you don't want those hard edges. Whoop, I gotta invert it. There we go. Set that. So because we've got such a soft background, we can be pretty aggressive with this. There we go. Now it's kind of like cradling the image. From a cinematography standpoint, it's actually it's a bad shot on a bad lens with a lot of errors. So we're trying to quote unquote fix it in post. This is what we end up with. It's not terrible, but it sure is a lot better than it was. So if we go back to the comparison view, there's the before and after. Again, it's been stabilized, so you're not seeing the stabilized version on the left side. Now, if you noticed, because of the added contrast, we lost the detail in her hair on the left side there. We could go back and get that. But from an aesthetic standpoint, that kind of works for the shot. It really illustrates how intense the sun is at that angle. It would be a matter of preference if you wanted to go in and pull those back so you could get the hair detail back. For me, I wouldn't worry too much about it unless it was obscuring more of her face right here. And we'll move on to this guy. Current group. So, this one has just a tiny bit of noise in it. We're not really going to mess with that too much. We have two different talents who are... I tried to get them as equidistant from the camera as possible, but she's sitting just a little bit in front, and he's sitting just a little bit behind the focal point. Focal plane, rather. So... it was kind of a compromise, and so I wasn't able to use like a really wide open aperture and really blur out that background, but we'll take care of that in post because we're good like that. So we don't have anything to do to it. There's no white balance correction needs to happen. I think I already did that, did I? I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. It's set to outdoor? Yeah, it's set to daylight. It's fine. So we'll just take this and... we're going to start with getting power windows on their faces. So I need to do parallel healer. What I wanted to do. Well, we want to separate them from the background. I just don't know if I want to track first. Let's do this the simple way here. So I'm just going to create a circular power window. I'm going to stick this one on top of her. Kind of encompass her a little bit there. Okay, and then we'll go over to the track. Make sure it's set to the power window tracker. Hit this little guy here to track in both directions. Just going to cover her with points and track all of her bits. Pretty quick. Don't have to worry about it too much. Nice thing is you can move the mask around after you've tracked it. So you can change its size and all that stuff. You can animate it, or you can just change it just for that one, you know, for the entire shot. I don't think there's anything I have to do as far as animating these, so we're just going to do one person per node as opposed to doing both on a single node. We could do that if we had similar adjustments to make, but they have different skin tones, so the way we pull them out of the background might be a little bit less advantageous if we try to combine them and group them together. I probably could get away with it, but I just like to be Oh no. Maybe. Almost done. There she is, making her silly hands. And we're tracking backwards where I started there. Let me know in the chat what you think of the music. It is royalty-free playlist. Current playlist I'm running right now is Synthwave. So it's chill. It's kind of the idea here. All right, now we're gonna do him. So what gets tracked is what's inside of the thick line. This doesn't matter for tracking. It doesn't have any effect on tracking. So we just want to make sure we get all the things that matter in here. Go and track him. Now, granted, I probably could have gotten away with just using static power windows since they don't really move a whole lot. This whole power window thing is kind of the... Once you see this and you see how I work with these power windows, you're going to see them everywhere. You're going to watch TV shows, especially older TV shows that are now in HD. You're going to see this. You're going to see power windows everywhere. Sometimes, you know, when you're grading for a specific output or a specific display, when you retransfer that and it's not been remastered, some things become very obvious very quickly. Power windows is one of them, especially if they had a really difficult shot and didn't either have the time or the budget to reshoot, or just didn't see it until they were completely done and wrapped and didn't have time or budget to set up a reshoot. Like maybe they already tore down the sets, you know. So usually they'll struggle a little bit and it might become a little bit visible. So, all right, so I'm going to make this, we'll keep that out there. All I want to do right now, we're just going to increase the gain just a bit. Just to give her a little bit more pop. Okay, same thing with him. A little bit. We want to make sure this is out wide enough. We're not going to see any lines or anything like that. A bit of extra pop. Okay. From here, now we're going to do magic mask. I could have skipped this part, but you'll see why I didn't towards the end, hopefully. Hopefully I make it make sense. So we're going to go a layer, add a layer. So in this case, we're going to have 3 layers. We're going to have one of the people, the other person, and the background. So in this case, it doesn't matter which. I'm going to track this one first. Go to my magic mask, turn on my onion skin, and let's just track her. Get as much of her hair as possible. Now notice I'm still using the object track and not the person tracker. The person tracker is a bit dodgy. So I still don't really know how it's supposed to be used. It functions completely different. Then I will make sure we don't get any of the chair. And let's track that. Problem with her is she's really animated, so I imagine that this mask is going to go completely off the rails when she starts flipping her hands around like crazy. The reason why this is so long is I wanted to have some clip of her talking and him talking so we could deal with those separately. There it goes. See, it's kind of fallen off of her shirt. We'll go back and fix that here in a little bit. Do you recall having to manually fix that? Excuse me, doggo. I am busy, sir. I beg your finest pardon. Get. No. Get. Jerk. Okay, so let's go back and fix this. This was the first time her arms start flipping around. So I'm going to start using the hotkeys J, K, and L. So K is pause, L's play, and J is play backwards. If I hold down K, then L is 1 frame forward, and J is 1 frame backwards. So I'm just going to move the slider here until I get to the point where I start seeing her shirt fall apart. There. So just reiterate, we want this resolve. Back forward a little bit. That's actually holding on better than I thought it was going to. Oh, there it goes. So, again, reiterate, we want this right here resolved. I don't know why you hate her shirt so much. Right here, do it. Back. It's doing it again. It hates America or something. We're not at the last resort part yet. Now we're at kind of a last resort. So here's what I like to do. If I got something that's like, because that's only 1 frame that it survived and then the track started falling off, I'll go like a few frames ahead and I will draw going backwards to really tell Resolve, hey, knucklehead, this is what we want. Track forward. And it happened again. So we'll start here. Start walking backwards. This is still way better than hand rotoscoping, kids. Any of you guys have ever done rotoscoping before? Basically, you would be hand drawing a selection around somebody without any AI assist or like edge detection. It is hellacious and nobody likes it. Stop with your arms, lady. Like it's hanging on. All right, good enough. Cool. Now him. I think he's a lot easier. So we'll just doop-de-doo. Do. We don't want that in there. Don't want this crap, whatever the hell that is. And also, because his head is, he's got dark hair, he's going to blur into the background a little bit. We're going to go ahead and just make sure that we tell Resolve. We don't want that bullshit in the background. Here. And go. I have no idea what they're saying, so don't ask. Sure, whatever it is, it's really exciting corporate stuff. Whatever, I guess a little pillow behind him is getting selected too. I have no idea what's going on there. He's sitting on something. Alright, good enough. Alright, so now we've got our talent marked out. And we can do this now, we can work the background. Guess what we're doing? 3 slider correction. I turn that off. We're gonna denoise and filter these so they have a little poof to them. No hard lines. That'll reduce any kind of flickering that we might see. Oh, come on. Go. Now we can really screw with this. And we're going to pull. That's it. Touch. Okay, so we really separated them out from the background. We've kind of done the hard part now. We could do some face tracking. That sounds like fun, right? So let's see here. We'll take this over. Just make a new placeholder node. There's going to be nothing in this node. Let me correction on that node. So we'll bring this out. We're going to do parallel with the 2 people. Do face refinement. So this one could be either. Now, when I have multiple faces in the scene and I hit analyze, it's going to pop up the boxes and let me choose one. For whatever reason, it's detecting 4 faces. But we're just going to go with that one and then hit analyze again. Should properly analyze her face. It's like a Muppet. So you can see pretty easily how quickly secondary corrections can become complex. It's a lot more involved than primary corrections, which is kind of why I wanted to devote several weeks to this. And multiple different types of material. Like, this week, like showing you the people-centric secondary corrections isn't necessarily to teach you how to grade for people. It's more showing you the complexities that different content can have. The majority of you guys are grading drone footage, yes. Footage of your drain. It's really, and I can't even think of words right now. Most of you guys are grading drone footage, so you're not going to have to deal with people, you know, even close-up people. Oh, come on. Are you serious right now? My camera just decided to fuck off on me. Super fun. Obviously, again, this is taking ages because my computer is obviously doing a lot right now. Your mileage may vary. I believe face refinement is a studio-only plugin. I think there's an old plugin. I don't think it's been deprecated yet. That's like beauty or something like that, and it just focuses on skin tones specifically. So it does affect your entire scene unless you mask it off. But this way, we actually get adjustments that are geographically in relation to facial features, which can be helpful. At this distance, though, it's not that big of a deal. But if, like, she were filling the frame, I'd want to be very specific about where those corrections go. And not having to track them in individually, you know, like tracking one eye and trying to fix the track for that eye light would be painstaking. Alright, so there she is. Take the overlay off. Do a little bit of auto beauty. I'll go ahead and just... Hello! Oh. Right lady, yeah, okay. Touch of contrast. I'm going to pull back on the color boost. I'm going to kind of pull the peaked out reds there. It's got a little bit of shine, so we're going to take the shine out. And my favorite, we're going to make her eyes pop. Not literally, because that would be mean. So slightly. A little bit of an eye light to kind of fill in the shadow. She's got pretty deep eyes, so there's a lot of shadow there. Much of the eye bag removal. We're not going to mess with any other part of that, so there she is. You can kind of tell that she's popping out of the scene a little bit more. Her face looks more crisper, more engaging. So let's take care of this guy over here who's got red skin. She's got green skin, and once you work enough with people, you realize that while technically speaking, we're all the same color. We're all just different. We're different shades of orange. Essentially, that's all brown is dark orange. We're different shades of orange. Whether you're black, white, whatever, there is a subtone to people's colors, and it has to do with things like temperature, hydration level, circulation. So some people are red, some people are green, some people are yellow, some people are purple, some people are blue. And normally you don't see these things when you're talking to people and you look at them, but when you see them on film, or on digital film in this case, you can definitely tell there's a skin tone difference between these two. She's green, he's red. So we need to kind of account for that. So let's see. Alright, so we haven't tracked this one yet. Do the face refinement. Again, I'm going to hit that analyze button. It's going to let me pick. I'm going to pick him. Analyze again, and we'll analyze his face. Track that in. I don't think he puts his hands in front of his face. This, the face analysis is really touchy to things going in front of the face. Oh my god, 2 minutes. Makes me want to get out and push. And over here real quick. I am green. That's good that you know that. It's very self-aware, Marcel. I am mostly red. It depends. Like, I've got wild variations in my circulation, so sometimes I can be greenish, sometimes I can be reddish. Sometimes they can be yellowish. But you can pull like a Dr. House type thing. If you're color grading and you see somebody who's like extra yellow, they may actually have a liver problem. Precursor of jaundice, liver failure. So that could be a thing too. You might be able to help somebody before it's too late just by color grading them. Any day now, computer. I'm definitely making this computer earn its keep. So now you guys, now I told you guys about all these subtones that people have. You're going to start looking for them. You're going to see them everywhere. I'm probably not going to see them too much in television. And movies and such, because a lot of what they do in movies is they cover up that tonal variance with foundation, and that makes color grading a lot more cohesive. So if there's a professional makeup artist on the set, or they've been through makeup before you film them or grade them, you probably won't have to deal with these skin tones unless you're dealing with like swimsuits or something like that, where there's an awful lot of skin showing. It's pretty hard at that point. You're not going to cover the entire body in foundation. That would look super weird, but faces are usually made neutral before they're given a look. That's to make coloring consistent. Okay, there we go. Turn off the overlay. Let's zoom into his goofy face. How you doing? Not using the beauty. Add contrast. We are going to go to Beauty Advanced. We're going to add a little bit of texture. Just a tiny bit. We don't want to see, if you crank it, he's going to look sickly. Like a poorly rendered character out of Fallout. So we're just going to give him a little bit of texture. And we gave him his contrast. Take a tiny bit of shine removal off there. It's not that much. Sharpen up his eyeballs. Brighten them up a little bit. looks like in this frame the mask is a little bit off, which is fine. This is another reason why you want to be very subtle with these, because if the mask is off at all, it's going to be very obvious. We'll take his bags out. There we go. Look how pretty you are, sir. Maybe we got too much texture on him. Maybe. Oh. There we go. Now he doesn't look like a burn victim. And let's see. Did I do that with him? Don't think I did. What does this have on it? Just did. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I didn't actually do anything to these, so... One, let's see, which one is this? That's him? Okay. Hold the saturation down, get the red out of his skin. Just want a little bit out. Saturation down again on her. Very, very slight. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Let's see if we can get away with pushing the background more. See, if I push the background too much, then the masks become super obvious. So we want to only push them as far as we can get away with. I'm trying to get the shadows in the background to go down while keeping the midtones high enough that you can't see the masks. Okay, that works. Alright, so we've done their faces. I think it's time to do some two-tone. And in this case, we're just going to do the shadows. Because Resolve doesn't have a way to combine masks. So I have masks up here, but I need to combine these two to exclude both of them. And right now, as far as I know, there's no way to do that. So I'm just going to do shadows. The shadows really is the most impactful thing. Let me turn on my mask viewer. Okay, and we'll do 6 and 3. There. Turn that off. So we're looking at the deep shadows of the chair. We maybe want a little bit of that shadow to get into their eyes, the darker parts of their eyes. It's almost giving like a matte effect. Okay. Do our vignette. Again, the static shot, our talent's distributed evenly towards the middle. So, I mean, they're not dead set in the middle of the frame, but they're distributed evenly. So we want to frame them appropriately. Make sure that's inverted. Oh. And voila! There's our finished shot. So we compare the two shots. There we go. There's the original next to the graded version. This one's a little bit more subtle, just because there was less we could do with having multiple people at different focal lengths. Oh, that was one thing I was going to do. I was going to blur the background, but it's a little bit late for that. So I've got, I don't know how many nodes in front of it, so. But it's fine. If I recall, it didn't turn out well anyway. Oh, goodness. It's getting late. Good. Excuse me. So, yeah. Let's take a look at another one. Alright, so this one, a little bit more interesting. Despite the fact that his skin color is very different than what we've been working with, all the same principles still apply. Because technically speaking, he's the same color, he's just a different shade. He's got a different luminance value than us white folk. So we do have to take that into account, but it's not as big of a deal as you might think it is. So let's see. First thing, I'm going to separate him from the background. Oops. So So I'm going to add a layer. There's no excuse for you. Alright, whatever. Background. Talent. Talnet. Good job. Alright, so we're going to use Magic Mask for the mask as opposed to something a little softer. He also has fringing, like a green-blue fringe and kind of a yellow-purple fringe on the left side. Because, again, I think it was a suboptimal lens. So that's going to end up coming out in the wash a little bit. So, but because his hand is out here in the beginning, I want to start on this frame. Let's see if I can get away with faster. Turn that on. Qualifier. Hello, thumb. I think we're going to end up getting the microphone anyway, which is not that big of a deal because it is technically part of the foreground. We want to get his very nice suit here. That looks pretty good. Let's just go ahead and reinforce it by... We don't want any of the canopy. Or the background green stuff, the trees. Kind of scribble around there just to make sure Resolve knows these are things we don't want. And we'll track it in. Looks like it's going to stick pretty good. We don't have to fix anything. Maybe his color a little bit there. But I'm going to soften this mask up, so it's not going to be tremendous. You can imagine, like, going this in detail on every shot for, like, a feature-length film, right? If you were the only one doing it, it would get pretty tiresome pretty quick. Like, the shot for the wedding that's coming up ahead, that was like 90 minutes long, that film. And I had to grade every shot. And I had a lot of challenging shots because of bad lighting or flickering LEDs or what have you. And you get real tired. You start off super motivated, and then you get like halfway through and you're starting to take shortcuts because you just want to get to the next cut, right? It can be difficult to have that same consistency of quality every time throughout your entire project. So I mean, even now, like I don't know how many shots in, and I'm tired, obviously, right? But I love this shit. So, all right. So we're gonna take our background. 3 slider correction and bring it down, bring some more color into it. Now you can see the fringing around him. That's starting to rear its ugly head. Let's see if we can hide that a little bit. Oh, wrong one. Right there. Hide that a little bit by giving him kind of a softer... It hides it a little bit. It's still pretty obvious at his head, but looks pretty good. So with him, we're going to pull up on some gamma. Give him a little bit more attention, if you will. And we're not going to... Well, you know, I don't know. We could try it. I don't think I did it last time, but I think we're going to try it. So we'll pull the gamma down a little bit if we pop the gain up. And we're going to pull the saturation back just a touch. We're going to pull the saturation back on background. We're going to add more in a different way here. We're going to use the HSV saturation. The reason being I don't want to change the tones. So I'm going to do the same thing for him as well, but I want him to do it independently of each other. So I changed the node to HSV, and then we want the S of HSV, so I need to turn channel 1 and channel 3 off. And then I control saturation with gain. This is my background. I can really reef on this, and it's not going to do a whole lot to change the hue of the color. If I yank that saturation slider around, it's going to change the hue and cause colors to peak out. What we're doing here is increasing color volume. We're just putting back the color that we took out but we're keeping it the same hue. So I'll do the same thing here, but this guy needs a mask. Go. And turn channels 1 and 3 off because we want the S in HSV. And we're gonna take the saturation down a little bit more. Whoop, that's gain, sorry. Here, and then we'll pop it up here. That way we don't blow out those yellows in that flower, but we still get that color back. So here's a question for you. Anybody who's still watching and actually paying attention, take a look at this gentleman. Tell me what his undertone is, what his subtone of his skin is. Obviously he's dark orange, right? But he's still orange like the rest of us. But what is his subtone? Let me know in the chat what you think it is. Okay, so put that saturation back. And now we can do some face refinement. We'll see how well this works. I don't recall if this worked out properly the last time. What are you doing? See the face? Right there. No takers in the chat, huh? You don't want to be the guy that gets it wrong? Perfect. Okay. Beauty advance. Add some texture. There we go. Now we're getting some detail in there. Contrast. Take the color boost down just a touch. Got no shines, we'll leave that alone. Sharpen up those big pretty eyes. Make them pop just a touch and take that sharpness down. And we'll smooth out under his eyes just a touch. There we go. And the rest of his face is good. Good skincare routine, that man. So, taking a look at it. Not too bad, right? So we could do some aftertouch contrast and two-tone and a vignette. So we will make a new node. We'll use this as our jump off point here. Same thing, take my shine threshold all the way down, saturation down, composite type to soft light, bring that opacity down while I do this. Add matte, bring in the original footage as a matte. And bring the opacity up. And we get a little tiny bit of a glowy contrast that kind of ties it all together because it causes everything to sort of bleed together. So it ties the different contrast levels together without adding saturation. Very subtle. Now we'll pull out a new node. We'll do parallel nodes for highlights and shadows, starting with our shadows. Turn on our mask. Go to our qualifier and pull this down so we get our shadows. Eye soft. A little bit more. And we'll go 6 and 3, so blue plus 6, red minus 3. Oh. And we can tune it here. We don't want that touching his face. We don't want to turn him purple, right? Because we're keying against luminance values, and while he is the same color as everybody else, he has a much lower luminance value. So we don't want to tone his face. Just the shadows in the background for the most part, and then in the highlights thing here, definitely the wrong one. The highlights, not the shadows. Genius. So one of the things we can also do to protect his skin tone is normally for a mayonnaise complexion individual such as myself, I would want to protect the highlights from, or protect the skin tones from the highlight toning. But in this case, I'm going to want to protect the skin tone in the shadows. So we're going to take our magic mask track here, take that mask over here, and we're going to invert the mask input. Where is it? There it is. Now we can even get a little bit more aggressive with how much of the shadows we take. Yeah, that's... And over here, we're going to go red plus... We're going to blue -6, red +3. There we go. That looks fancy. Tie it all off with vignette. Again, vignettes are more to personal taste. It's neither incorrect or correct to do it. This is kind of where secondary corrections become a very subjective thing. Primary corrections are more technical. They're also called a technical grade. So trying to make your footage look as neutral and as close to real life as possible. So white balance, exposure, saturation, those types of things. When you get into secondaries, it becomes more artistic, right? It becomes more of what the director of the film, or you as a colorist, if you're working on your own stuff, what you're trying to achieve from the look. So secondary corrections are also considered your creative look. Hence why it's creative. So just because you see me putting a vignette on everything doesn't mean that's what you have to do. That's my personal taste. Your mileage may vary. But if you like the aesthetic, now you know how I do it. So here's another reason why I use a gamma vignette as opposed to a gain vignette. So if you were just to use like the vignette plugin, it would probably offset. So it would darken the corners of the highlights up here as well. I want to darken the midtones, but leave the highlights and the shadows alone. So it doesn't have as much of an effect up here in the corners where it's bright. And if I really wanted to maintain those highlights, I would use lift, which increases the saturation a lot, but it doesn't touch the highlights at all. Lets even the brightest highlights shine right through. So that's kind of why I choose a gamma vignette. Gamma vignette doesn't look good in an HDR grade, so in that case I'll use a gain vignette, which is just pulling the gain down. It's way too aggressive in an HDR grade. And there you have it. Let's take a look at before and after. It's not a tremendous change, but it's a change. What do you guys think? Got a lot more dimension to him, I think. Plus the framing, we took advantage of the framing. We get more of the glinty highlights in the bokeh in the background there. So it's a little bit more obvious than what's going on here. Obviously, it would be even better if we couldn't see this at all and we just saw the sky. That would be a fun, challenging shot to work on. Okay, let's take another... Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Marcel. Let's take a... yeah, that... All right, last shot. Last but the hardest. Yeah, there we go. All right, so let's take a look at this way this shot's composed right now. You're not helping. All right, so... Oh my God. What are you doing? Right here. Right here. Oh my God. What in the world are you doing? Resolve has just decided to completely fuck off on me. Do something to this? Will it... What in the world are you doing? Good enough. Holy shit. Oh my god. Okay, so there's a bug in Resolve. It's not supposed to do that. Anyway, moving right along, we can take a look at this clip here. So this is, there's the bride sitting in the chair, and one of her, I guess a hairstylist, or her and her bridal party went to some salon to get their hair did and stuff. So yeah, it is just the two of you guys, and that's fine. I don't care. The replays do well, so people will come in and catch this at a later date. I know Bob will be back to watch a replay. I do appreciate you guys here and interacting with me. Oh man, come on. So I get for letting that play. But I do appreciate you guys hanging out. So let's see what we can do here. We're just going to do something relatively simple. So I think we might want to play with a white balance on this one. That doesn't... I don't want it too dark. We'll take it overexposed. Punch it up even. Actually, I want to pull that down. So if you look at my head, we want as much of that stuff in the middle of the spectrum as we can. Good, I'm glad, Marcel. Okay. Good enough. Alright, so there's that. And we got considerable amount of noise, I think. It's not too bad. We can get away with it. You notice, so she has like zero makeup on right now. So she's got some flush in the cheeks. Chin's a little bit rough. A lot of different colors. She clearly has a red subtone, which nobody guessed. The last guy, nobody guessed his subtone. He also had a red subtone, in case you guys were wondering. She has a green subtone. But she's in the shadows, she's in the light. We're not overly concerned with her skin tone. We're very concerned with her skin tone since she's the client. So we actually, like, we don't want to piss her off. We could give a shit less what she thinks. Have no idea who she is, so I hope she doesn't watch this and be like, hey, that's not nice. I see Streamlabs is going nuts now. Awesome. So, let's see. We can probably... We're going to do this in two different... So we're going to do this in 3 layers. So I'm going to create a layer node and another layer node. Sort of the same thing we did for the 2-person interview. They say you should learn something new every day just to keep the problem-solving part of your brain active. Be part of gangrene. Boo. That's the worst joke ever, Marcel. Your joke is bad and you should feel bad. Okay, so we're going to use just power windows. We're not going to magic mask. Magic mask probably make me want to punch infants, so turn that back on. There we go. So we're going to magic mask her face. Or, sorry, power window her face. And again, this doesn't matter for the purpose of tracking. I want to make sure we get her face in there. Get enough of it, and then we go track. Back and forth. Now, the nice thing about power window is it uses all of these points to track. So even if this starts to go out of frame, like here, it should still hold on. Even though she's out of focus, even though she's half out of frame, it should still hold on. And keep tracking. Then it pans back down. Eventually. This is not going to replace those lost tracking points. That's fine though. And tracking backwards. Good. So there's one done. Now we'll track her, which will be a little bit more challenging. So we're going to go to the middle here. And we'll bust one of these guys out. space to move around. There we go. Here's hoping. So this one should stop tracking because she should, like, it leaves the entire frame. And then we'll have to hand animate it the remainder of the way out of there. Sort of fucking off now. We need it completely out of the frame. You notice it's tracking in 3D, so as she turned her head towards the mirror, it actually turned with her. The mirror does screw it up a little bit, though. Did notice that. Alright, so that's good enough. So, what we're going to do here... Take this... Oh, I can't move that? Okay, fine. Track in, so... We can go here, so make sure this is set to clip, or frame rather. And I'm just going to give this a little nudge to create a keyframe. I go back one frame and I'm going to yank it off right there. And then it should, in theory, stay off. Right here. Okay, there we go. Here. About there. Give it a little wiggle. Create a keyframe. Oh. Probably have to come back to that. Pull it out of there. Oh, I got it. Okay, cool. I'll go back to this one and make sure this is off the frame. Perfect. Okay. So, now that we got those squared away, we can fuck with our background. So we'll go back to like our hero shot here. Yeah, it is trippy. And what we're gonna do, guess what? 3 slider correction on the background. Why the fuck is that? That's super weird. That's... I am doing something stupid. I don't remember what it is. Never mind. Yeah, tracking in Resolve is absolutely fantastic. So I did the 3 slider correction and really brought their faces out of the background. And I want to kill the saturation in the background too a little bit more. So for these masks, I'm going to make sure that... Go ahead and spread these out a bit. And make them a little bigger. So now, like... Did I just fuck myself? I just did, didn't I? Yep, I did. So, there we go. Okay, so I want to change this for the entire clip, not for the frame. So I'm going to pull this out, make it a little bit bigger. It's not going to discard the track. It's just going to change the way that power window works. That's not good. Yeah, we should fix that, huh? Ebus. Back to frame. That's ridiculous. Holy hammer dasher, Batman. Whatever, dude. That's redonkulous. I have no idea how that happened. Okay. Back to clip. Do the same thing for her. So we want this set to clip, so it just changes this for the whole clip. It doesn't animate anything. A little bit bigger. Maybe recenter it a little bit. Again, it doesn't discard the track. The track is still there. That's the nice thing. You can go back and change the shape of this all you want, but it's going to stick to her face to where we tracked it. You can do the same thing with text and other visual effects type things, but it's a little bit outside of what we're doing here. Okay. Okay. Beans. Just run that through here. Now, if I do this, is it gonna... God damn it. What the fuck are you doing, Resolve? I don't know. Lupus have been busted for a while now. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. Yeah. But I mean... It's going to be a little bit more subtle when we do the two-tone grade, because or the split tone. When we do the split tone, it's going to tie the two together, because we're going to do the shadows on the faces. We don't do the highlights on the faces, but we do the shadows. Which actually we can't do the highlights because again we have two different masks with we can only take one mask input because there's no way to combine masks in Resolve. Annoying. Yeah, we could take this and what out like this. Actually, could do that. Blends her together a little bit more. That's a little weird, but it's fine. See, now that it's bigger, it's not off the frame, so it kind of sneaks over. Another thing we could do is we could actually animate the actual grade that's in that power. Or actually, we can't because this is a negative of the grade underneath of the background, so that's why. Okay, so let's take some of the red out of her. Drop the saturation. So here's the problem. Like, I'd really love to use face refinement on it, but I know it's going to fail if I use face refinement on it. It's going to get all super weird. So... Oh, the blonde is just looking around, dude. The girl in the chair, she's the bride. She's just looking around. She's like looking out the window or something. I'm sure she's like super nervous too, so. It was after all her wedding day. Oh, yeah, I mean... He's just stressed, man. You know what I mean? You guys ever been married? Let's see here. Maybe we can just get away with this. So let's try using Beauty here. Mask. That's actually quite a bit better. Definitely slowed things down a bit, but it kind of blended that red in her face and makes it look a little bit more like makeup. Oh, that's not too bad. She does have some circulation issues in her lips, though. Her lips are blue. Not a whole lot I can do about that, because this older beauty plugin just focuses on skin tones, but it's good enough for government work. So fine, whatever. Ask. Oh, that's for her. Yeah, I cleaned her up a little bit. Just smooth her out. Basically, I mean, it's not doing a whole lot of aesthetic things. It's drawing the attention away from the blemishes in her skin. So that's probably as good as we're gonna get there. And then let's do our two-tone. So we'll do a parallel node. That's right. We're not doing the highlights in this case because of the faces. So this one. I'm running like ass because of the stupid beauty filter. Yep, there we go. 6 and 3. Yeah, there we go. That looks pretty good. And top it off with aftertouch. So find my glow effect. There we go. I like that. Yep, definitely puts the attention on her. I think that's what she would want. Oh, I'm sure, dude. I don't think I've ever been a best man. You'd think I'd know, right? What the hell? I don't think I've never been a best man. Been married. Am married. This marriage has been great. No stress at all. We got married at the courthouse. So, no big deal there. I've been in big weddings and it's terrible, and this was a huge wedding. Basically two very wealthy families coming together, so many people. Alright, so we got our aftertouch, which definitely helped kind of frame her a bit. And then we'll just do our vignette. There we go. Oh, there we go. Not too bad. Let's take a look at the before and after. There we go. That's doing wonderful things to the audio in my headphones. I don't know if that's doing anything on the stream, but holy shit. Not bad though, huh? Still more attention is on the bride, which is where it should be because it's her video. But we also did not completely exclude the hairstylist in the background there. So like this entire salon, like you can see people in the background, you can see people in the mirrors too. Like it was the entire bridal party was just everybody was getting their hair did and their makeup done all at the same time. And it was an absolute madhouse. So it felt a little weird being there. But you know, accepted with arms open. So that's all the clips I brought for today, guys. Just kind of diving deep on secondary corrections and all the different things, different paths that you can take. They can get very complex. They can also be simple, as you've seen in my drone footage. There's not a whole lot to do from a secondary correction standpoint. But when you have a foreground and a background is when it starts getting ridiculous. And when you start dealing with people who might get offended based on how you color them, then extra care has to be taken to make sure you don't make somebody look terrible. One caveat I will say to that, it's not your job to make somebody look beautiful. It's your job to make sure somebody looks natural. To make sure they look exactly how they look in real life. And do whatever they want. Do whatever you want with the background. That can change the entire feel and look of a shot. But you don't want to get creative with how you grade people. Because you go too far into the uncanny valley and people would become offended, and you might end up having to eat a refund or something for a job, depending upon, you know, how that's arranged, if that's something you're going to do in the future. I'm not necessarily expecting you guys to become professional colorists, but it's an option if you really get into this and become passionate about it. There's plenty of work out there. So, you know, the more you know, all that fun stuff. That is what I've got for you. And got 4 people here now. That's fantastic. 6 likes. Wow, I am just killing it tonight. It's amazing. I think YouTube hates me. I really do. I really think it hates me, but that's fine. This will get a ton of views after it's done. Nobody watches the live, but everybody watches the replay. Anyway, guys, so next week we are going to take another step into secondary corrections. We're going back to drone footage. We're going to talk a little bit more about those secondary corrections and taking it from your basic secondary artistic, like the split tone. We're going to take that and we're going to take it to the next level. So, yes, thank you for joining me this evening on this wonderful journey of grading all these random people. And this week, I am going to release my template power grade for my drone footage. So it's essentially the power grade. I end up building it from scratch every time. Basically, it's my nodes, right? So I could give you a file that represents these nodes here, except I'm playing right now, right? All this would become a power grade. It's kind of like a LUT, but it's specific to Resolve and it's non-destructive. So I guess it's like a preset, but nothing is actually going to be set in any of the nodes. They're going to be labeled, and it's going to be up to you guys to figure out what it is you want to do with those nodes. But it's going to give you your basic tree structure that I find the most common for my drone work. I typically, as you saw, I don't begin every normal, like conventional cinema shot the same way as a, you know, some colorists like to have that static tree that is kind of like the lowest common denominator for all the different shot types they would use, because they follow some basic workflow principles, and that's perfect. If that's a way you want to work, you can do that. For me, I like to be very, I don't want to be so rigid when it comes to how I grade people or more complex shots. I mean, drone shots are pretty easy at the end of the day. 99% of the time it's going to be landscape, and the other 1% of the time it's going to be indoors. But you're not necessarily going to have to be working with people or subjects or, you know, a specific focal area because you're flying, right? The focal area is constantly changing. It's more about the shape of motion that matters when you're talking about drone footage. So we'll dive more into that next week. And, you know, go sports, do the thing, win the points. I have no idea what's going on today. I know it's Super Bowl, but I don't sports ball. So, yeah. Until next week. Thanks for hanging out. Okay. Love you. Bye.